To all those who have XRP, a warm welcome to the channel. As we move closer to Monday morning, let's jump right into today's news and gain a better understanding of what's going on with XRP. Now, with regard to Monday morning, it is worth noting that the overall market has had 3 straight days of positive performance. You can see that there is a lot of excitement across the board and a lot of other cryptocurrencies that are up. Again, if you look at it on a weekly period, it speaks for itself, but you should be aware that Bitcoin experienced a significant breakout from its previous level. One more time, we are going to discuss all of that. However, at the moment, XRP is experiencing a slight decrease of approximately 1.4%. We are going to look into this matter more closely and find out what is actually taking place. On the Bitcoin side of things, the price of XRP is still sitting around $2.60, to be exact, $2.61, which is a decrease of approximately 4%. The valuation of XRP is getting close to $157 billion, and the trading volume for the 24-hour period is $4 billion. As is customary, I would want to make it clear that the content on this channel does not constitute financial advice. If you are considering investing in cryptocurrency, you should always conduct your own research and due diligence. Observe what Quentin has to say. The Christmas tree is taking shape in gold. In addition, as you can see for yourself, the price of gold has been falling for quite some time now, having reached its highest point just a few days ago. Also, as gold begins to decline, is this capital going to flow into the regular market as well as the cryptocurrency markets? This is something that needs to be considered, simply because, as you are aware, Bitcoin had a fantastic day today. If you take a look at the stock market in recent times, you will notice that it has been able to achieve all-time highs for both the Nasdaq and the S&P 500. In any case, they are the kinds of considerations that we ought to be paying an extremely close attention to. Now, let's take a more in-depth look at the situation and see what's going on. Take note of the Fear and Greed Index, shall we? So that you could see for yourself has, shifted to fear for the very first time since the market liquidation that occurred on October 10th. This is a very intriguing thing to see in and of itself. Again, this has been brought up to date now only a few hours ago, and you are aware that this may actually provide you with a little bit of a better insight in terms of the emotion of the market. Have we now reached the point where we can begin to make progress in the direction of the positive? This week is a very important one, as we are all aware of. You can see that $21 million worth of short positions in Bitcoin were liquidated in the last hour as the price of Bitcoin has recaptured the $116,000 mark. This is something that we are going to speak about because there is a lot going on, which is very important. Now, a significant liquidation. In addition, I am perplexed as to why people continue to engage in leverage trading, especially if you are a reviewer on the Crypto ZX channel. This should serve as a reminder to you. If you are interested in cryptocurrency, if you have conducted the necessary research, and if you have invested in a manner that allows you to lose money and just spot buy, due to the events that transpired on October 10th, you certainly do not want to engage in leverage trade. In spite of this, those things are still a possibility. Have faith in it or not, leverage trading platforms should be avoided at all costs, because market manipulation is a real phenomenon in the cryptocurrency industry. However, have a look at this. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has stated that the United States has reached a considerable trade framework, with China perhaps removing the requirement for the tax that Trump has proposed with 100%. I am quite excited about this. It's almost as if we're turning a stone when it comes to these discussions about tariffs. Hence, the price of Bitcoin still, stabilized, within the 23.6% and actually broke out, to the 116,300 price point a few hours back. Bitcoin, on the other hand, will be discussed a little bit later on. That being said, let's keep a watchful eye on what transpires during this week. Naturally, Wednesday is the most important day of the week. Wednesday's Federal Reserve interest rate announcement, as well as the press conference given by Fed Chair Powell. Along with that, it goes without saying that a number of major corporations are going to be declaring their earnings. However, the most essential thing is that you look at this. As a result, President Trump will meet with President Xi, who is, of course, the president of China, on Wednesday, the day that the decision to reduce interest rates was made, then on Thursday. And this is the most important thing that we want to be anticipating with great anticipation. And on top of that, you could tell that this is going to be a really busy weekend, We would like to include the monthly candle closing of 4 in October if you are aware of this. It is possible that a great deal will take place over the following few days. It is of the utmost essential. According to Vincent, a local resident, it is my understanding that the new Evernorth XRP enterprise would raise $1 billion from XRP direct investment, as was reported and as we have seen on the chain. So clearly, we want to be paying very close attention to that. At this point, you are probably wondering, how will that impact open market XRP? I will explain it to you. Following that, there is a plan to go public on the stock exchange. At this point, they are discussing the Evernorth. This will result in the collection of billions of dollars, which they will then put toward the purchase of XRP from the open market. Until now, you have not experienced supply shock. The combination of this and the debut of the ETF will result in a supply shock that you have never seen before. Consider the time frame. Who will know? This is a really good interpretation, and Vincent has certainly made a very good speculation. In addition, you should know that if North ever builds the largest treasury for XRP and they raise $1 billion, then they will be successful. Perhaps they are now interested in going and, hop on what a lot of these major entities are doing, coming public and really taking advantage of crypto startups going public. There is a high factor right now. And again, it's definitely going to raise a lot of money from that aspect, considering that they are now engaging in this activity in order to collect funds. Do they intend to use the money that they have raised to purchase XRP? To carry out that, imagine that the initial public offering IPO capital may potentially be used for something. And that when it comes to the open market, they are going to go on the open market, not on a third-party place or something like over-the-counter OTC. This is similar to an open market, and it will, of course, be beneficial to the price if you are aware that a significant portion of it is to begin purchasing XRP. These are significant matters, and it is possible that Brad, who is growing up in the house, is aware of something that we are not. You are aware that the information that he has provided is something that I simply cannot get out of my head. In essence, he claimed that XRP is the focal point of the discussion. That is accurate, centerpiece. You have heard that correctly. In addition, this is something that we will undoubtedly be keeping a careful eye on. Examine the statements that Anders has made. In recent times, we have observed Ripple acquire a number of startups which they are currently incorporating into their product offering. Adding to that is, as you are aware, Ripple is in the process of filing for a banking license in addition to a FedMaster account, and the situation is becoming less murky. Ripple is in the process of constructing a financial institution of the next generation, and Dave is preparing to dominate the global financial market. It is also important to keep in mind the recent statements that discussed Ripple's recent acquisitions. I would want to bring to your attention the fact that XRP is the focal point of all that Ripple does lock in. This is a rundown of recent purchases made by Ripple, along with an explanation of how they complement one another. Prime broker, custody, and a platform for stablecoins, etc., the corporate treasury. Proceeding forward, the CME has reached $1.33 billion in open interest for XRP prices. CME is also presently in third place in terms of the volume of XRP. Once again, this is something that we should be paying a great deal of attention to. Moreover, have a look at this. XRP is not engaging in hype chasing. It provides support for actual